guess my final question, if I may, somehow I'm going to be suggested again. What I've learned throughout these years, and I think, since we've been working with Zsolt also, we've come to learn and understand within the environment of the university, we really need to sit down and talk to people all the time. So this engagement that has been mentioned all the time, I think is the key really to accelerate a sort of thing that we're looking for. Regulations, we have András Németh, our lawyer, sitting over here. Regulations should be there to support the agreements. But sometimes we tend to think of regulations, and they become in practice the biggest barriers to change. We come to think of entrepreneurship and innovation, we don't really like regulations many times. But then again, there are levels like licensing that have to be there in order to make sure that the coordination is over there. Now, how to solve that over the years, I've experienced now over the past years, especially with Zsolt. One of the ways is what we call participatory governance. You sit down and you really try to make sense of your conditions. And that cannot happen really by only exchanging paper and saying that there is a license, there is a patent. You just have to get closer together, to talk together, and see how you can go, between and beyond, what the regulations are dictating in one short period of time, with the hope of adjusting them in the longer period of time. Now, one love that we have, we think, is international embeddedness. Sometimes things don't work in one country, they might work in another. You're thinking of selling and buying, and one of the methods that we think is good and is necessary for innovation is international embeddedness. If there is Silicon Valley in the US, then maybe come here to benefit from that as well, connect to Silicon Valley and start commercialization. Now, my last question is about the importance of internationalization. I've already given my opinion on that and other.
I think you're asking the question. Even myself, we do talk all the time about this. There's no two ways about this. Hungary, the way I see, for most of our teams, the Hungarian market is a lot smaller than just number of people here. There is elements of like A times B times C. So A is like 1/30th the number of people. B is an element of openness for new ideas, and also the disposable income is affecting. So altogether, this market is very, very small. So there's no other chance. There's no way. You can have a nice lifestyle business, of course. But if you really want to have a startup, if you are really into this kind of Western side entrepreneurship, as in there is a Hungarian parallel which is not the translation of entrepreneur, right? So the American style of entrepreneurship, you do have to. I think the best way to learn this is to go out and do the washing up in a restaurant for a year or something. That's probably one of the best kind of education we can do. So you have to learn, talk to them, and bring back everything the Western learns. It's absolutely vital. There's no two ways of it. And the other thing is we are in a system of embedded pattern system all the way. Politics, education, and in our heads, that's how we grew up. I think we are almost impossible what we try to do. Entrepreneurship is the opposite, the stellar opposite of what's going on in this country, in this moment. So many times we have something like, okay, 5 people are sitting in the room, we sort of all agree, and we have to go to entrepreneurs. And then there's some kind of regulation that sort of doesn't allow us to do so. And it's such a big screw up, right? And then okay, someone else, you start to see what they're going to do. So, in a way, I really have to go out and bring the systems as well, and brainwash
is internet economy in Hungary, Prezi used to log in, they're all global, they never had anything to do with the Hungarian market, they operated in English, they never received a single penny from Hungarian sources, period. Well, that's the model, okay? You want to add the Hungarian capital into that, and that's the model. Global technology, operating in English, attracting 700 million English speakers in the world. That number is growing by a minute. They are the most affluent, best educated, most worldly people, so they're open, they're the most open people in today's economy. So that's the kind of approach that we like to see in startups. Obviously, it's a very small subset of startups in Budapest or in Hungary, which has that mindset. The good news is that subset is not zero. It's about 2 or 3% of startups that we see who get that, who understand that from day one they have to go for the global market, not because they necessarily agree with those economies or ideologies or whatever, but because they want to achieve the biggest possible success for themselves. And if they start in Budapest, if they start in Hungary, they go into regional markets in 9 different regional languages, and then they go to 20 other languages in Europe, and then they go for the biggest possible market, the English-speaking market. That's the wrong order. Typically, I always advise, go for the biggest market first, because if you fail at that, then you don't have to try all the other smaller languages and smaller cultures. Language is culture. That's a big thing that a lot of people don't really recognize. That a lot of cultural aspects are just oozing through language. And that's why it's very important to study English and to be as fluent as possible in English. And that's why we both like to take our startups that we are working with. We would like to take them to the US because the US is typically very open and very forgiving to people who don't speak English as their first language, but as a second language. Because on that side of the pond there's a high appreciation of competence and knowledge. So going back to being international, not being international, for us that's in the DNA. The first 20 days they have to be on the global market in English and try themselves with real people, with real customers. The good thing is that the global ecosystem also sustains this. So it doesn't mean that the 200 entrepreneurs who travel around the world and interview customers. There are plenty of channels and plenty of platforms who allow entrepreneurs to do live testing of the global market, so they can actually learn firsthand primary inputs, what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong, and that's, in my view, that's really how they have to sharpen their skills and how they have to get ahead of their competition.
I agree with what's said, but I'm going to be presenting a little bit different thinking as well, which is there's nothing wrong with being an entrepreneur to serve a local market, to serve a regional market, versus being global. It's a perfectly good way. And I mean, like Fornetti, for example, this bakery chain, great success. It has $70 million in sales. We invested in Matera, which is a local eBay copycat. It works. So there's nothing wrong with it. You don't think you have to go global. That's what I'm asking. I don't disagree with you, but you can do a great thing. One thing just the last note, because we're running out of time, is don't build a business plan on government as a client. That's the problem. I'm being very serious. I see, I'm sure you guys see many business plans. Oh, it's great. I have revenue growth. When you look at it, and your customer is some government, quasi-government company. I think that is a trap. It's not a bad thing, but it could be a trap. So that's all I was saying.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Will. Definitely agree with regional, and absolutely with English. English is the language of globalization. Even if you have a regional business, you're going to have people that come into this small country to work, to live as tourists. So I really think it's important. When we put together the shooting center, Charles had a lot of ideas of what he did not want it to be. But those of you that have been through the shooting center program, the one thing that having a video call with Hungary. Good.
That's all you need to say. And actually, I've got to do a seminar in 10 minutes here as well, so I'm going to have to leave. But yeah, I mean, it's a global world, isn't it? I mean, I think if you, a couple of things I would add, it really depends on the motivation of the entrepreneur. If you have a particular business that you want to pick as a local business that's designed to be a small business, in the US terms, mom and pop, then that's great, you know, there's no problem with that. If you want a high growth venture that's going to be significant in terms of revenue, then you have to look at the size of the market you're going to serve. And obviously, serving the US market or serving some other global market is going to be much more significant than just staying in Hungary. So I would think about what it is that you want to achieve as an entrepreneur first, and then and also the type of business that you want to start. I think about that. But yeah, I mean, realistically, the world is global. As Kevin says, I'm a Brit working and living in the US. I'm in Sweden and I'm doing a video call with you in Hungary. I mean, that says it all, if you ask me. And I must leave because my Swedish colleagues are all queuing outside my door waiting for my seminar. So if I could drop out now, that would be wonderful. Good to speak to everybody. And sorry, we did have some problems hearing you. So if we were a little bit off base there and here and there, couldn't hear you too well. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye, everybody.
Thank you very much. So, Balazs, you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. So, you know the question. The question is really, the investing sector is now we see two perspectives. One, you need to be multi-contextual, not only multidisciplinary. Multi-contextual means that you have to be able to deliver a benefit in more contexts. That is one argument. The part of the investing sector is like wants to see. The other reaction is versus you don't necessarily need to be multi-contextual thinker. You might only understand your own context and deliver benefit. So what do you do?
Sorry, I hope I did get the question right. It's still about the internationalization, right?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Let me just maybe talk about what I hear from the investor side in terms of internationalization, and I think that's also very important for startups. And I have to fully comply again with Luke's idea, saying that it's about the entrepreneur thinking either I do want to do something small, I do want to do something that's regional, and that's fine. But if you want to do so, keep in mind, not a single venture capitalist will talk to you, because at least the larger ones, because they need a market size that's big enough. So I talk to some of the investors, and if you tell them that your market, that your potential market size is below, let's say, $1 billion US, they will put your business model to the side. For seed investment, that's so fine. But internationalization is really important if you want to get large investment firms on board.
Thank you very much. So,
and sorry, maybe just to add one sentence. I'm not saying that you have to do so. I'm just saying if you want to grow, then you will probably need to have an internationalization strategy. Especially for Hungary, because there are not so many markets for a startup big enough for a second or third financing round to talk to you.